New Year's resolutions can feel super serious. They sound like something set in stone, and that's kind of where the problem starts. These resolutions that feel rigid and unforgiving just are not suited to those of us who have ADHD, who have more flexible, creative brains. Another issue is they often focus on big, long-term kind of goals when you're setting New Year's resolutions without any immediate payoff. And as ADHD brains thrive on dopamine, which is the feel-good chemical, we do far better with shorter term goals, quick wins, and more immediate rewards than very long-term goals. This is why I don't really do New Year's resolutions. Instead, I set goals every month. It takes the pressure off the beginning of the year, and let's face it, most people's New Year's resolutions are long forgotten by February anyway. It actually helps to keep you on track throughout the whole year, not just a couple of weeks in January. If you're new around here, hi, I am Rhiannon Morgan. Everyone calls me Rhi. Welcome to the Real Talk with Rhi podcast. And yes, today we are talking about how we can make New Year's resolutions work for those of us with ADHD, who they do not normally work for. And quite honestly, even if you don't have ADHD, a lot of this stuff will probably help because, be honest, let me know in the comments if you're watching here on YouTube. You can't do that if you're tuning in the audio version, but if you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments how many New Year's resolutions that you've made have you actually stuck to, and by the time you get round to December and ready for the next new year, those New Year's resolutions, can you even remember what they are, let alone have you actually stuck to them and actioned them? So in today's episode, we're going to talk about how we can actually make progress on our goals in whichever area of life they are, how we can actually make sure we're setting goals that are our goals, that are actually going to improve our personal lives, and not just the kind of things that everyone says at New Year and really generic New Year's resolutions that really don't apply to us, don't resonate with us, and we're not going to take any action on. So I set my goals each month using my organised year planner. This is a planner that I use to focus on the month that I've just had. And during the goal setting session that I do each month, I look at what went on in the previous month. I look at what went well. I look at what did not go well. I look at my wins from the previous month, which I think is really important for us to do. And it's something I've only started doing really in the last year. And I can't tell you what a difference it's made, because sometimes I think that we can think, oh, I really haven't achieved much, I haven't done much, until you go back through your daily planner or your calendar or your diary or to-do list and think, do you know what? Actually, I did this happened. And celebrating the wins can really keep your motivation going and make you realize that you're kind of doing better than you thought you were. So if I just open this up to show you briefly what I do in here each month. So I go looking back at the previous month. What was I grateful for and what do I need to celebrate? And I just jot that down. I actually have this planner at my desk, and sometimes I pull it out periodically through the month or when things are going well. And then I jot those things in as they come up so that when it comes to the end of the month, I know what I should be celebrating, what I should be giving myself a big old pat on the back for. Because, you know, when you're in school, like my children get celebrated a lot. I don't know about your children, and maybe not so much when we were in school, but I feel like our children now get celebrated a lot. They have superstar assemblies, and I'm always telling them what an amazing job they're doing. But when was the last time anyone told you were doing an amazing job? And sometimes we have to tell ourselves we're doing an amazing job. And yes, at the moment we're celebrating our children, but I kind of want my children to be able to grow up and celebrate themselves and how well they're doing. So I'm trying to set better example for them so that when they're older, they don't fall into this trap of never celebrating themselves. On the next page, I have got a wheel of life where I kind of look at how well I feel the month went in each area of my life: mental health, self-care, fun and recreation, finances, career and education, physical environment, friendships, family, relationships, personal development, spirituality, and physical health. And then by seeing which areas are, okay, they went well, or which areas did not go so well in the previous month, I can make decisions, informed, educated decisions on what I want to focus on for the next month. Then more reflection, I look back at what went well and challenges I faced in each of these areas. Again, to know where I should be going in the next month and what I should be focusing on. And then looking ahead to the next month, I think about really what I'd like to be celebrating by the end of the upcoming month. So what would I be loving to say, hey, I got this done, I got this finished? What would feel really great? It's like, wow, I actually got that off my list. And these get brainstormed here. I have a think about what might stop me from getting to achieve these things I'd like to achieve. And largely these are time constraints, just being a mum, having 4 children. Granted, our eldest is in university, but I've still got 3 at home full time. Our eldest is home some of the time. So it's a lot to balance and juggle. And largely some of the things getting in the way would just be not balancing my time well enough to make time for these things to happen, or just doing the hamster wheel stuff. I think that's one of the largest things that gets in the way of what I'm doing, rather than doing the things that are really going to focus me on getting the things done that I want to get done. And then I think about what I need to do to make that happen and how I will feel if I achieve these things. And tapping into that feeling of how you'll feel if you'll get something done is just a much more effective way. I think for years and years, my goals were sort of fear-based goals. Like, I need to do this so that this doesn't happen. I need to be in shape because otherwise I'll feel gross. And I focused so much on the negatives that I was trying to avoid in my goal setting, rather than how will I feel if this great thing happens, and focusing on the positive. And it seems like such a tiny shift, but you're so much more likely to achieve the things you want to achieve in an inflow way rather than with loads of resistance if you're coming at your goals from a wouldn't it be fun and amazing if kind of way, rather than if you're coming at your goals from a oh my goodness, I have to get this done or else kind of way. And then I set out each goal. I pick 3 for the month and I go into what's the goal? Why do I want to achieve this? Because that's a big one. Like, why do I actually want to get this done? How will I feel if I achieve this? What might stand in my way? What action steps do I need to take? And what will I reward myself with if I manage to achieve this goal? I write those out for the 3. I look at the habits I need to stop doing, to do less of, to keep doing, to do more of, and to start doing if I want to achieve these goals. And then I do have some notes pages, but that comes after pages that are also duplicated in my general planners, which are an Eisenhower matrix of things I really need to do in the upcoming month in order to make these goals happen. The Eisenhower matrix is just totally been a game-changing way of me running a to-do list. So I've got things that are important and urgent. These things happen first. I don't really think of not important. The other one is not important. I more think of not important as not taxing. I use the example of a birthday card. It's not that I'm saying it's not important to buy someone a birthday card, but it's not a taxing thing to do. So that would go in there. What is urgent needs to be done quickly, but not important. And then not urgent things are kind of things that I'll get to if I've done the rest of the stuff. And obviously if it's not urgent, not important, it doesn't get done. And then I look at the month ahead and kind of plot out when I'm going to do whatever. So going back to some of this and breaking it down in a bit more depth. In the words of the Spice Girls, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. And it's often so easy to think, I really want whatever it might be. You want your home to look a certain way, you want to achieve a certain thing, drive a certain car. But is that something you really want to do, or is that something that social media has influenced you into wanting to do? And I think a lot of family pressure can come into play, especially when people are picking even directions for their lives, like what they want to do for a living. Do you want to do this because it's what your family expect you to do, or do you want to do it because it is something you want to do? Do you want all your family to have matching pajamas for Christmas because you think that'll look good on social media, or is that something that you would actually love to do and to organise and to have these lovely photos? Do you want to go to this particular place, I don't know, a holiday destination, a trip, a day out, because you think it'll look great in pictures and you think everyone will be like, oh wow, I'm so jealous you went there? Or do you want to go because you genuinely believe that your family will love going there and you will really feel lit up and amazing that you've been? I think one example of this, bit of a random one, but just comes to mind, is that we had Disneyland Paris annual passes for a 12-month period. And Disneyland Paris is not actually very close to Paris city centre. So I think we did 4 trips during the year over to Disneyland Paris. And it was amazing. It, absolutely amazing. And people are like, well, aren't you going to go into Paris city centre? Aren't you going to go in and take the children to see the Eiffel Tower? And I very much thought, I really should do this. I really should, shoulding all over ourselves as parents, aren't we? I really should take them, we're that close. I really should take them. And on one of the trips, we were going to do it. And we thought about taking the train, these things called the RER, into the city centre. And I had loads of people like, oh, it's, lots of pickpockets and just kind of scaremongering really. So I was like, right, okay, we won't do that then. We'll get a taxi. And we got a price for it. And it was expensive. And then we thought, right, well, we'll just get our airport transfer to take us, do a little bit of like a look in Paris on the way to the airport on the last day. And ultimately, that was going to be quite costly as well. And we gave the children the option, do you want to go and see the Eiffel Tower, or do you want to go into Disneyland Paris for the last day? And it was unanimous. They wanted to go back into the parks. So while I felt I should have taken the children, that's just because everyone was telling me I should have taken them to see the Eiffel Tower. At the time, at the ages they were, I think they were totally unbothered about seeing the Eiffel Tower. If I was going to do that, I would have been doing it for the wrong reasons. I was doing it for the gram, doing it for the picture in front of the Eiffel Tower, not because I actually felt it was best for my children or what they wanted to do at the time. What they wanted to do was go back into the parks. So that's what we did. And I think that is just one little example off the top of my head of why are you really doing things? I think when they're a little bit older and they want to explore Paris, then they'll love that. But at the time, I would not have been doing it for them. I would have been doing it because I've just other reasons. I felt like I should. And that's not really a good reason to do anything. It is really important to be realistic and honest about our capacity in the season of life that we are currently in. And this applies to everyone, but especially if you've got an ADHD brain like me. ADHD brains are notorious for underestimating how long things take. Like, this is something that I do. I underestimate how long things will take. I underestimate the energy levels I'm going to have. I underestimate, I totally inaccurately estimate. I agree to do things and then I'm like, oh my goodness, what have I done? Why have I taken this on? I just don't have the headspace for this. And I do this quite frequently. So a good way to kind of look at this is, what is a small chunking it down version of your goal? So for example, writing a book is a super big goal. It is something I have started doing. It feels big and scary. It is something I've started doing. But that's a big goal. And, how you don't just write a book. That's not something you can put on your to-do list. However, writing a certain amount of words, a certain amount of pages, a certain amount of paragraphs, or doing a certain amount of research, something like that is something you can chunk down and put onto your goal list each month. So maybe you could write a chapter a week. Maybe you could write a certain amount of words a week or words a day. Maybe you could do 3 30-minute sessions of writing a week, 1 30-minute session a day, 1 hour a month, whatever it looks like for you. But be honest about your capacity and setting goals that actually feel achievable. Stop you kind of going, oh, well, I give up, all or nothing mentality. I can't achieve this big goal, so I'm going to give up, which I don't know if it's just an ADHD thing or if it's a me thing, but I know I'm very guilty of that all or nothing mentality. And I feel like a goal is way too far off and I'm never going to reach it. I feel like I don't want to bother at all. So breaking it down to smaller action steps is just an absolute game changer. So another benefit of breaking things down into smaller actionable steps is that you get to tick off smaller things from your to-do list. Every little tick is a little yay, well done me, dopamine hit. It encourages you to keep going. It is so important to make what you're doing fun and not feel like a chore. There's a brilliant book called Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdaal. I believe I've discussed it before on the podcast, but perhaps not in depth. It's probably worth chatting about for a full episode because it really is so valuable. But ultimately, what he says in that book is you need, in order to be productive, you need to enjoy what you're doing and be in flow. If something feels like a chore, like, oh my goodness, I've got to do this, it's just like swimming upstream. It's fighting, it's running up an escalator that's trying to go down. It's going to feel impossible. However, if you reframe this into, I get to do this, my environment's lovely, I'm excited to do this, and you can feel that excitement in you to really want to do something because you're excited for the outcome, you're excited to get it done, then the amount you're able to output, the speed at which you'll get to your goal is just so much faster. And I know for me, this is just such a massive, massive one for me. As soon as I get into I've got to do this, I feel like my creativity goes. I feel like I just feel blocked and stuck. Whereas as soon as I can kind of tap into that feeling excited to do something, it's like it's much easier to flip into my ADHD hyperfocus mode and really get more in flow. The more excited I can get about something, the less it feels like a chore, the less pressure is on it, the more it can feel like the ease and flow is all around you. And then it's like being gently floating downstream, not swimming upstream. So you could rename your goals. You could call it a challenge, a 7-day challenge. We do like to have challenges, us ADHD brains. You could reframe your workouts if your goal is to work out more and to, get in shape. That's a really popular New Year's resolution one, isn't it? It's really popular. But if you're still adamant, you want to jump on the bandwagon, you want to get in shape, and having just sat around all of Christmas eating our body weight in chocolate, I get why everyone feels like this. It's like, I need to detox. But by calling it, got to get in shape for New Year or New Year's resolutions to lose weight or whatever, it just feels so awful and so tedious and so hard. Like, who's going to stick to that? If, however, you're like, my challenge for January is I'm going to beat my step goal every day, and I'm going to smash my 10,000 steps out every day, and I'm going to win at that. Or I'm going to do something I love. So for me, I think it took until I was in my late 30s before I realised... Sorry, that's my alarm to remind me to go and fetch my children from school. It's not that I forget to get my children, it's just that my ADHD brain goes into these, hyper-focused modes, and I don't notice the time. So I have alarms going off to remind me to do things like go and fetch my children. That's my first warning alarm. When the next one goes off, I'm really going to have to go and actually think about leaving the house. So anyway, it took me till I was in my late 30s to realise that actually I hate running. I've always loved the idea of being a runner. And this is an example of a goal or a New Year's resolution I've tried to set so many times, of being a runner, taking up running, doing the couch to 5K. And I was doing that because I loved the idea of it. I was doing it because it was like an other people's dream. And I saw other people doing it and thought, oh, it'd be so cool if I could do that. But ultimately, it was never going to be my thing. I hate running. I love dancing. I danced for years and years growing up. I used to teach dance fitness classes in my 20s. I love it. It doesn't feel like an effort to me. So if I can pick something like, right, I'm going to do a certain amount of dance classes in January, and that's my challenge. First of all, it's not going to feel that challenging because it's fun. It's something I want to do. And secondly, it just doesn't feel like it has the same heaviness as I've got to go for a run, or I've got to learn to run, or I've got... The energy behind that, it's like, it's fun, exciting, I get to do this, I can't wait to do this, rather than it's not fun, I got to do it. Basically, make it a game. Accountability is absolutely great. This is why having like a buddy, if you are going to go to the gym, someone to go with, you don't let them down. You've got accountability of a gym buddy or a trainer, or actually, this is why I used to love teaching dance fitness classes. I had that accountability because I had to go because I was the teacher, and that was amazing for me, because otherwise I didn't necessarily want to just show up and do a class. I love the dance classes, but I enjoyed them all when I was picking the music, and definitely being the teacher was the ultimate accountability for me. But also there is this body doubling thing with ADHD, which I don't fully understand, other than I know it is a thing and I know that it's helpful. And sometimes when people are trying to do work, deep work, cleaning, it's really nice to have just someone on a screen doing that with you, or someone in real life doing that with you. And this isn't necessarily accountability, but just that kind of buddying up. So I know that I do lots of speed clean videos on my main channel, and people pop those on while they're cleaning too, and we kind of clean together. And I get that. I totally get that. And it's like having like a vlog on in the background when you're just kind of pottering around doing your day-to-day stuff. And for me, I like having stuff like that on when I'm cleaning or tidying up as well. I get it. I don't understand why, as ADHD is, we love doing that, but it's a thing. So try it. Let me know in the comments when you've given it a go if it works, or if you already do it, let me know how that works out for you. Like I said, I do try to identify what is likely to stand in my way. Not already going to stand in my way for definite. It's not like a negativity thing, but what is likely to stand in my way of achieving these goals. And again, this is a time to be really, really, really honest. For me, very basic things are likely to stand in the way of me achieving my goals. So having a messy desk is very likely to throw me off massively, not be productive, spend loads of time fussing around with my desk and things, and I not even then get into working. And then obviously I'm going to fall behind in my goals, especially my work goals. So for me, doing a bit of a weekend reset, cleaning my desk and like literally just wiping everything down and dusting it on the weekend makes a massive difference to me. So other examples would be setting up my walking desk. So this behind me, if you are watching on YouTube, is a sit-stand desk, and it goes up and I've got a walking pad. And one of my goals, one of the things I really know I feel great when I do, is fit in my 10,000 steps a day. And I do that largely by having a walking pad under my desk, and I walk and work. And there's videos about it over on my main channel if you're interested in how all of that works. But honestly, it's been the biggest game changer. It has totally sort of revolutionized the way that I work. It means that I can multitask, I can exercise at the same time as working. And historically, one of the big things that's fallen in the way of me staying on track with my exercise and fitness goals is when life happens, like the kids are ill, there's extra stuff on, we've been away. I can't not work because I have to work to earn money. So ultimately the thing that goes is exercise. So now I can exercise while I'm working, absolute game changer. But something that might stand in the way of me doing that is if it's not set up when I get in here. So what I do before I go to bed is a little gift to future me. I raise up my desk and put out the walking pad, and then it just feels a natural thing to do rather than to sit down and being like an hour or so later like, oh, I didn't stand up and do my walking pad. Whoops. So how can you help future you stay on track? Is it make sure you've got your workout gear? A lot of these are very workout related, my examples. I apologize, but then I think a lot of people's goals will be fitness related. Let me know actually if you do know what your New Year's resolutions / goals are for January. I'd love to hear them in the comments, and how good you are, especially if you've got ADHD, at normally sticking to these things. My guess is, if you're anything like me, learning to stick to these things is a process. Let's just call it a process. That's a very polite way of putting it. We talked briefly before about rewarding ourselves and how it's really important to do that, partly because I just don't want my kids to grow up and just be stuck on this hamster wheel of mundane blah. I want them to grow up and still be proud of themselves, and I want to kind of model that for them. But our ADHD brains also need these rewards. They really, really do. So what can be little rewards along the way, not just like when I have achieved the goal at the end, but for sticking to habits each week? How are you going to reward yourself? How are you going to just be proud of yourself? And if you can figure that out with a reward that you're really going to be happy with and be proud of, it's going to make sticking to your goals so much easier. And just something as simple as writing them down in my monthly review, in my organised year planner, makes such a difference. Leaning into your ADHD superpowers is a huge one. So hyperfocus is just when you're absolutely in the zone, and it can be a bit of a problem because you can forget to do things like go and pick up your kids. That's why they have alarms. Or eat or go to the toilet. But equally, when you can tap into it and you've got stuff you've got to get done, it's amazing. I mean, if only I could figure out how to like flip that switch on purpose. But if you can figure that out, if you can observe yourself and learn how to tap into that a bit more, it's a game changer. Also, ADHD is very good with adapting to things. So, we have our strengths and pattern recognition. So you're often going to spot things that other people miss. And these can be beneficial for reaching our goals and not just negative things. Ultimately, it's about progress over perfection. And I think the all or nothing mentality that I'm assuming is an ADHD thing, but it's definitely a me thing, can be problematic. It's the kind of the attitude of, oh, I ate a bit much today, my healthy eating's all off, so I'm just going to eat the whole cake. It's not helpful. And I'm definitely working on being a little bit more. Do you know what? I'm doing pretty well. I'm still managing to add loads of like healthy, good stuff into my diet. Things are going well. I'm still trying very hard to work on celebrating progress over perfection. It's a work in progress, but I know when you can tap into that a bit more, it does make hitting your goals so much easier. So let's rebrand them. We're not calling them New Year's resolutions. We're going to call them monthly goals. Is still a bit harsh. Monthly fun projects, monthly exciting, monthly things I'm going to celebrate I've done by the end of this month. Call it what you will. Let me know in the comments actually if you can come up with a fun thing we can call it that just makes it sound fun and something we all really want to do. We're going to break our bigger goals down to smaller steps so we can have a lot more tick, tick, tick. We've done that, little dopamine hits, and then it just motivates us to keep going. We're going to make it fun. We're going to track our progress. I will link my planner store below. You could just use pen and paper or any old notebook. There are digital versions of these that you can download, and then you can put those into a binder. I have an Organized Life binder, which is like a printable pack that you can pop in there. I've got a whole video actually, which I will link for you so you can watch that about how I put that together. Honestly, that's been a game changer for getting organized. And ultimately, the more organized we can be, the more time we have to work on our goals and the closer we get to them, because we are maximizing our time, aren't we? We're maximizing our time so that we have got more time that we're using to be productive and get close to our goals and less time wasted. And it's all about celebrating those small wins, because the more we celebrate ourselves, the more motivated we are to keep going. That's my alarm. I actually have to go and fetch my children now. So I'm going to link the Organized Life Binder video on screen because I think that will be super helpful for you to watch to get organized. I will link the planner store below if you want to grab one of those. You can check out my Patreon or another episode of the podcast that you will enjoy, and I'll see you over there.